So, welcome everybody to this session on um, holistic approach to perimenopause. And so, this is it's just an overview about perimenopause and why it's important to approach this in a holistic manner. Some of the slides, Joe, you already seen this one, but for Lois, and also for others who doesn't know much about it, it will be a recap for you, Joe, but for the others, let's just go ahead. So the agenda would be just a brief or quick overview of what is perimenopause, what are the symptoms, just also a quick overview of the science behind. It's actually a lot of information, and I'm trying to explain it in a general way. I'm also not a clinician. I'm a coach. I'm certified. I had a training and I had an examination, and this is also a learning that I did out of the reason that I'm also a perimenopause woman. And also on the next point in the agenda would be why the holistic approach matters during perimenopause, and just some quick holistic overview of the different aspect when you say holistic perimenopause management. You can also follow us on Instagram, perimenopause or perimenotastic. If This is really the brand that handles or caters to perimenopause support. So a little quick about me, if you don't know me, like what I've said, I'm a certified menopause coach. This April, I became a licensed menopause champion under the Menopause Experts Group, or MEG. I originally come from the Philippines. I am Filipino-German, German citizen now, Filipino always at heart. I've been in Germany for 15 years. I'm a pharma corporate girly since 2015. I've worked also before in nonprofit organizations in the Philippines for a decade, for different topics. I'm a mom. I'm in a biracial marriage, and um, I have a lot of perimenopause symptoms: weight gain, brain fog, hot flushes, rage, anxiety, depression. Okay. So this is just my story, just a quick summary. So last year I was at the peak of my symptoms. I was really in the dark until I seek for help. What I felt really is a lot of rage, a lot of anxiety and depression, and also I should have felt better because somehow I have a good work in the pharma industry. It allowed me, the person who likes traveling, also it was so nice because I was able to travel to the US, actually first time only from this work, and then went there many times already. And I should have been really happy and satisfied and all that, but I just was feeling um meh or flat until my relationships it was already affected until I met this girl or lady called Katie. She's a therapist, and this became then my community. We talk more about perimenopause. She's also in perimenopause, until it led me to study more to be a certified coach. And this is also when the perimenopause was born. So this is my story. And this is still my life right now in perimenopause. So that's about me. And now we go to perimenopause 101. So what is really perimenopause? I would say that you can really understand perimenopause by technically defining menopause. So actually menopause is really just one day after not having a monthly period for a year. So in my example there, for example, January 21 2025 to December 31st, 2025, you didn't have a period. And the day after that, January 1st, 2026, you are in menopause. And it is the complete cessation of your monthly period. So it's not really coming back. And the period before that one day is called perimenopause. And this can last really long, a decade, at least a decade, could be more. And the day after your one day menopause, you are already post menopause until the end of your life. So these are like the phases of menopause. Like what I said, there's could be at the 35 at your 35, you are in the pre perimenopause. You could already slowly feeling symptoms of menopause, and then you go to your transition to menopause, which is called perimenopause. And like what I said, it could last up to 10 years or even more for other people. And then you have your one day of menopause. The typical age in the US and the UK is 51. And then postmenopause would be a day after that until you die. And during this period of time, you already have a risk of cardiovascular diseases, your bone loss, muscle loss, cognitive decline, and slow metabolism. So yeah, so that's the phases of menopause. And this is the reason also why we need to prepare for perimenopause, because before that one day of not having a period for a year, or technically you are menopause, it really is a lot and you're already exposed to a lot of risks. So if you don't know anything about it, there is no way for you to tackle this in a holistic manner. There's no way for you to know this or to tackle also this in in an integrative way. So this what are the symptoms of menopause? It can be divided into um three categorization. So there are physical, cognitive, emotional. Actually, four. For some reason, it's not here in the slides. The fourth is the genitourinary symptoms. Let's go there now. So perimenopause symptoms. So these are the physical symptoms. And one of the biggest telltale signs that you are in perimenopause, aside from your age, you're around 30, 35, or 40, especially when you're in your 40, is that your periods are really irregular or very erratic. Sometimes very heavy and very long, sometimes lighter and shorter. Sometimes it could even be not coming for a period of 5 months, or even if it comes, let's say, 12 months, and then the next day you will have your period. Technically, you are not yet menopause. You would still go back to the category perimenopause. As long as within a year it still comes back at most, or is that the correct word? Yeah, so let's say 1 month, 3 months, 4 months, up to a year, it 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 still goes back, you're still in perimenopause. And also it's very fluctuating. So that's already a very good sign that you are in perimenopause. Plus all these other symptoms that I'm talking about. Okay, I'm just looking at the time. So these are symptom: hot flashes, disturbances, weight gain, etc., etc. There you can read. So these are the genitourinary symptoms. This is pertaining to your urinary and genital organs. So this also, you don't have appetite for sex, or it might be really painful, or there's vaginal atrophy or vaginal dryness, difficulty reaching orgasm. So it's not maybe very fun for you anymore. Bladder issues, UTI, you're prone to UTI, you're prone to incontinence, and you're just gonna be leaking, especially like recently have experience with coughing a lot, and this is like really very inconvenient. So emotional symptoms, these are really very big for me. For example, rage, mood swings, irritability, anxiety. My daily life is anxiety every morning. Depression, Yeah, so relationship difficulties, because when you have all these emotional symptoms, it affects the people around you. You're overwhelmed or you're less motivated, and all that. It affects also your work. Brain fog, cognitive symptoms, for example, is loss of motivation, poor concentration, fatigue. Bye. Slow thought process. So it takes for me, for example, very long to understand. For example, then I have an email at work, and then it will take me more than usual to really. I have to read it slowly, right, line by line, because it's difficult to comprehend. It's difficult to grasp. When normally I could easily grasp all these things. So these are the symptoms of perimenopause. Just like a trivia for you, I need to, because I covered it. What do you think are the five top symptoms of common symptoms of menopause? Let me just go. Okay, I think we have 5 minutes. I'll just go ahead to the answers, but you can put your guesses in the chat. Let me remove the cover there. So the number one is the really brain fog. And number two is really fatigue. So you're tired all the time. Number three is anxiety. Number four is feeling overwhelmed. And number five is loss of confidence. So this one affects a lot of aspects of our lives. It affects our work, it affects our relationships, it affects your performance in the whole aspect of your life. All these things, I would say, affects everything around you, within you, and around you. And this is then we go back to the topic of why do we need to tackle this in a holistic manner. So let me present this again. So this is just an example of how it becomes very interrelated, and it becomes an aggravating circumstance, one symptom to another plus stress. For example, you have difficulty sleeping, and finally you're able to sleep, but then you're disrupted, so it leads to lack of sleep. And when you're lack of sleep, you woke up what, irritated, and when you're irritated, you are stress levels would go up, and then you would be frustrated, you would be angry, you have a lot of anxiety, or else you'll be so tired. Yeah, go. You'll be so tired, you'll be so exhausted, and then you cannot function well at work, within your relationship. You snap at your kid, you snap at your partner, and everything is like a vicious cycle and interrelated. So yeah, so you I- if you have the whole, if you have to see this in a holistic approach, then you have then a lot of tools for you to support each of the symptoms. So for example, if you know that this can exacerbates all your perimenopause symptoms, it becomes more for you. And let me just a caveat that it doesn't mean that these are the symptoms, right? It could still vary from one person to another. Also, stress and situation in your life affects a lot of how this comes out. Um, for example, um, for example, you are caring for your aging parents, or could be physically or financially, so, or you could be undergoing, let's say, changes in your life, like death or grieving for death, for example, or you are you're undergoing divorce or separation. All those things affects everything, and it can also make your symptoms more, you experience it more. That's why, let me just go to the next slide. This is just an example again of how, for example, weight gain also affects everything, the whole gamut and systems of all these things that you're experiencing during perimenopause. So if you're you gain weight because you're in so much stress, you're stressed, you are low self-esteem, you could have depression and all that. And when you're stressed, instead of eating well, you are You are not, you're eating more, eating unhealthy more. Because in perimenopause, you can eat more, but the right food. It could lead to anxiety. It could lead to, like, not being able to sleep well again. And then it would lead to, again, weight gain, more weight gain, because your cortisol is level is high, because because your body thinks that you are in a flight mode because you're stressed. Yeah, you're stressed. They would think you're in a fight and flight. Instead of spending your fat, spending or burning your fat, they would store it. It's a mechanism in our body to, during times of trouble or danger. So this is just an example of hormones and menopause, how it affects. Um, Going back to just a little bit about the science behind it. So when the hormone levels fluctuate, the activity and efficiency of the brain can also be affected. So because these are like messengers, no, the hormone plus then they together with the neurotransmitters, they interact with each other, and they would think, where's my supply now? And then when your supply level are like very low or fluctuating, then the brain message to the brain is also become unclear or disrupted. This is also then the reason why um, all the symptoms comes out. It's like they are in a chaos, right? So this is to put it in in simple terms, and also for benefit of time. So this is then perimenopause in a holistic approach. So let me just make this bigger for you. So during perimenopause is really an invitation to put you at the center of everything, to put you as the center of you of your life. So it's not a time for you. It's not selfish to choose yourself. Because whatever that's keeping you um making you burn out all the time, whatever people pleasing things that you need to do, which is not really attuned with who you really are, what you really want. Um, this is then the reason why you need to see it in a holistic manner. Because, for example, and also the interrelatedness of the symptoms. Why one what how one symptom can trigger another one, and how one symptom can make it more for all the things that you're experiencing, for all the symptoms that you're experiencing during perimenopause. Um, So we will be in a holistic approach of perimenopause management. You will be talking about nutrition, movement, how to manage your sleep, so sleep hygiene, medical care, for example, with the help of your healthcare professional, for the emotional, how you handle stress, how you handle your feeling, and also the practice of self-compassion. So there's so many things that you can do that could also impact, has a great impact, has an integrative impact to the rest of your life. And also having the right mindset, the right beliefs and clarity that you can have in the mental aspect, in the emotional aspect, even the spiritual aspect, um, according to your values. So there's more inner peace. And of course, this is a time in your life wherein you need your community, you need relationships, friendships. This is where very important, people who understands you, support, because you don't, it can be lonely, and you don't need to experience this alone. And also your lifestyle, you cannot anymore just eat not mindful of what you are eating. I know it's not a perfect life, and stress is still there in how do you call it, it's inevitable, is that the right word? Now my brain fog is now functioning or interrupting. Yeah, you cannot sometimes prevent stress from coming in your life, but you can control how you react to things. So also boundaries and all that. So you can arrange and you can design this um this half of your life, because come to think of it, when you're in your 40s, this is this is definitely the time wherein perimenopause comes in. And let's say you will die around 80. So definitely you will still have 40 years of your life. And that's still really long. And you can still take control. And this is the reason why you want to study more about the symptoms. You want to study and check and take note of what you're feeling in terms of perimenopause. If you're feeling this, you need to check with healthcare providers if it's really is the case that, like for example, my palpitations in the middle of the night I experience just woke me up because I feel like I am having a heart attack. And it happened to me many times. And I went to the doctor. They did a lot of tests and all that. Nothing is wrong with me. It turned out it is really perimenopause, and all the other symptoms that I have. When, of course, when you have joint pains and maybe lower back pains and all that, it could really be that when you go to your doctor, it will show, okay, you are losing your bone. But this is because the rate of bone loss and muscle loss during this time of your life, during this age, is really high. And this is also the reason why you need to have a diet that is more appropriate for perimenopause woman. Like for me, when I knew that I am in perimenopause, and I have some, maybe I am a precursor to osteopenia, I think that's called, which is also a precursor of osteoporosis later on. But the goal really is to know this in advance, to prepare this in advance, and to see this in a holistic manner, to educate more yourself, because then there is no risk for you to see this in an isolated cases. No, okay, I have this. But even if maybe you see this in isolated case, you would maybe come back to you, and then there's actually nothing wrong with you. So it's good to know more about this, to see this in a holistic approach. And that is my advocacy as a coach. Um in If this is how then I would go about my workshops, for example, and how would I would go about my coaching in the future, if you want to work with me. So this is just an example of the holistic approach. So physical well-being, how do you support your body and ease common symptoms like hot flashes? So more movements, diet is important, staying hydrated is important, and you prioritize quality quality sleep, for example. You prioritize rest. If you are the ones who are really wants just to work, 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 it's time for you to slow down from time to time, and rest is also progress. Social support is very important. Emotional health is important. Check what works for you, and lifestyle factors also is very important. Cognitive function is all important, and you have to see this um in this, like what I said, in a holistic approach, and using the holistic lens, because once you tackle these things holistically, it would also affect the other symptoms, not just your cognitive, but also your emotional, but also your physical symptoms. What else? So I'm just do you have questions? If not, you can also put, I cannot really see because I'm presenting. But let me just also introduce. I know that not all of you are from Germany. Let me just, for the sake of recording, let me just also um introduce to you my upcoming workshop in July. This is actually a holistic workshop wherein we curate all the things, all the modules that is included in a holistic manner. Of course, not everything there can fit in a 1 day event, but yeah, so there's Katie will be there, the one I'm talking to you, who I first approached about my experience in perimenopause. She's a therapist, she's a relationship strategist, and she will talk about perimenopause and relationships. Sabine, she's a nutritionist and a physical fitness coach. She's also a menopause coach. She will be there also to give us tools that you can bring with you when you go home, that you can integrate in your daily life, exercises, the right nutrition, how to cook, maybe some suggestions on menus to do at home on your own. Jenny will be there talk about space and well-being, because how your physical location and how it's arranged can affect your wellness and your well-being, I mean. And there's more other bonuses that you can. So if you want to come to Munich and you want to book this, I gave a founding promo, which is would give you 22% discount. But this is about um what the how do you call it, the workshop is all about. So I will now I know we are time 15. I will stop the recording.